Wait a minute. Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Vielka. Today is March 20, 2024. We want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with Joey De La Cruz. Where in the heck you calling in from, Joey?
We're calling from Beverly Glen Canyon in Los Angeles.
How cool is that? The first question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
The best thing for a human being, I think, is love.
That's the answer I get the most. I agree wholeheartedly. What's your favorite form of information, how it comes into you?
The written word.
To divert for a second, did you become a reader because one, your parents told you to, two, they did it as an example, or three, on your own?
I'd say an example.
Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
To learn, to express, to evolve, to discover.
Really good words. Do you think this need or want to collect information is more innate or more invented?
I think it's innate, yet invented through the innate urge.
The innate urge. I like that. That's two good words put together. Fill in the blank, Joey. I don't know what I think until I
don't know what I think until I know it.
know it. Wow. McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. Joan Didion said, I don't know what I think until I write it. Do thoughts create emotions?
Yes.
Can humans think without language?
Yes.
Chomsky said that a language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
Feel.
Well, you must have ESP, because the next question is your observations of humans in general. Are we more feeling beings or more thinking beings?
That depends on the individual human. I think there's a lot of thinking beings out there that have used their thinking resource over their feeling, and then a lot of feeling beings out there as well. So I'd say it's we're mixed up all together.
Yeah. We think we can differentiate because we invented the words feeling and thinking, but they're probably like this, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to untwine them. Takes a lot of awareness and study, I think, to separate thinking from feeling, but ultimately, you know, they merge into the same oneness. So
yeah, Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. I'm like, good luck. How can you turn your brain off? Or like people who meditate, they go, now think about not thinking. It's like, wow. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
High aspiration there. Two questions from Alan Turing in the 50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
A function of the soul. I think, yeah, it can be.
Yeah. Two, can machines think?
Yes.
Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
The meaning in happiness, maybe?
Yeah. Because I got it from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He says, meaning tends to last, happiness doesn't necessarily last. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
I think it's a combination. I think initially consciousness is there and we bring the brain into it to detect and then create with it.
Yeah, it's good. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Speed of thought.
You got it. Audre Lorde, the poet, said, "You can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tool."
Well said.
Yeah, Yvonne Rainer, her associate, said, "You can if you expose the tool." What new tool do you suggest?
To expose the master's tool, what new tool?
Well, here, let me just answer your question first. Is you put the questions into the context you want. So if I open the question with a cute quote, doesn't mean you have to apply it. So in this case, I'm asking you, what new tool do you suggest? You don't have to apply the word new. It's really, what tool do you gravitate towards? But if you want to apply new, that's fine. And if you want to apply it to the quote, dismantling the master's house, what tool?
Awareness or presence.
Yeah. What new toy do you suggest?
What new toy? That's a good question, because toy, physical or etheric toy.
Yeah, right. You're saying metaphorically or literally, like what you put it into the context you want, or you can do both.
Right. So, I mean, I guess the tool would be, again, the heart.
Yeah. You mean the toy would be the heart.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, the tool's awareness and presence. The toy is the heart. That is a great answer. I love that. The heart can be playful. Toys imply playfulness.
Mm-hmm.
What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Oh, being enough.
Yeah. McLuhan learned from the poet Ezra Pound that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Joey, I asked you the question, and Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
We don't want to see the dark side of our inventions.
Yeah.
We just want to see what we want to see.
Yeah. It's like self-brainwashing, or as a subgenius say, pull the wool over your own eyes.
Exactly. Yeah.
As you see, those three guys who invented the internet were on CBS the other day. I know. I met Vint Cerf. I mean, these are old guys, 80s. Mm-hmm. I use the internet to look up recipes. All they want to do is think of what they created was a good tool.
Right.
And it is. But they don't really want to express their caution in maybe they created a monster. Oh no.
It's really hard to tell. I mean, the most positive inventions in the history of humanity can also be used by a particular individual to bring about its opposite. I mean,
exactly.
It's the
nature of inventing, but it's the nature of inventing is so well described by McLuhan, because he said technology, that's any human invention, whether it's tangible or not, is the most human thing. And that it has services and disservices. So, someone said, well, what's the service to a torture rack? Yeah, well, a torture rack could probably stretch your back just enough to not torture you. It could help stretch you.
Right.
You know what else a torture rack is good for? The people who make them and sell them. It's their job. It's like when that, what was that financial crises in 2008. Oh my God, what a disservice. Yeah, not to bankers, but they
Right.
tried to pull the wool. But you know who loved it? People who sell safes that are in your mattress.
Yeah.
They had a boom in their business.
There's always opportunity for someone somewhere in any, yeah. I mean, that's why that phrase we have, never let a good opportunity go to waste. And,
That's it.
crisis breeds opportunity,
Yeah.
calamity breeds opportunity.
Yeah,
May
we're
not
gonna
be
get
the
it.
one we are looking for or the most pleasant, but
Yeah.
it's available.
But it's also your word awareness, being present and being aware. Do artists have moral obligation?
I believe so.
Yeah. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think old ideas.
Yeah. It's the one most people say.
Old ideas keep us in an old place where, although it may be comfortable or familiar, the new ideas allow us to grow and evolve and see new things. They may not always be good new ideas, they might be scary new ideas, but staying stuck in the old, I think, goes against just the evolution of everything.
Yeah. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Oh, man. One of the earliest memories, that's going to be a tough one. I mean, one that pops in that's easy is in preschool. I was riding a tricycle and I was rear-ended in the grounds and hit my forehead on the bar where the handlebars are, and I split my forehead open. And I remember wiping my hand and just seeing my hand covered in red blood, and then running, and then then kind of seeing my mom at the window arriving at the daycare and her reaction to seeing me. So that's one of the first memories I go back to that popped in there.
Wow. Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Depends on the memory.
Yeah. Tell me someone within your immediate family, then outside your immediate family, just briefly, who had an impact on you, kind of like a role model. And what specifically was that impact?
Well, I'd say immediate impact, my mother, she brought me into this world, and then she got sick 13 years ago. It was actually the anniversary of her passing yesterday. So she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then there was a complication in her treatment, and she got sepsis and was really sick, and I was there to take care of her. And then she passed March 19th, 2011, so 13 years ago yesterday. And in that transition, she encouraged me, as well as forced me, to reevaluate my entire relationship with myself, with the world around me, and really was the greatest teacher and catalyst to my spiritual awareness and growth, and inspired a year-long trip to South America where I traveled and backpacked for nearly a whole year to almost every country, in search of her, in search of my mother's spirit, her essence, and my own, and to take away all the perceived identity that I carried with me up until that point, and to recreate myself anew. And that has spawned a book that I wrote, Path to Pachamama, A Traveler's Guide to Spirituality. And Pachamama means Earth Mother in the Quechua language of the Andes people in Peru and that region. And that's essentially the spirit of the earth, the spirit of the universe. So she encouraged me to find that not only outside of myself, but then within myself. So
Wow.
a wonderful role model, and I'm still learning from her every day.
Pretty heavy, dude. That was Well articulated and very concise. We'll get into that more. I'm curious now, outside your immediate family, same question.
Outside my immediate family, I'd say there's a gentleman, Jamuna Das. I met this individual through a movie script that I found underneath my bed in an apartment that he had stayed in 10 years prior. And through meeting this individual, his centeredness in spirit, in love, in compassion, in joy has been a beautiful blessing in my life and connected me to myself, to joy, to love, and to a bunch of wonderful people who share that reflection of light.
Jamuna Das. So you're saying Jim Klein, the same. That's how we met through him. So that's pretty
Right.
amazing. So this movie script was found totally by chance because he left it there on purpose, or he forgot.
I
Is
believe
that
I believe it was fate. I'm not exactly sure because I was in an apartment in Venice Beach and the pandemic had just begun and it was 2 weeks into COVID lockdown and I started cleaning frantically like many people did. And I went underneath the storage unit in my apartment and there was just a bunch of old stuff from previous tenants. It was a furnished apartment. And I go into the corner and I find pretty much what is to me gold, but it was 3 copies of the same movie script tucked in a corner, just sitting there waiting for me. And I ended up reading the script. It was meant for me to find. I'm working on producing it now. And the moral of the entire story is love is the answer.
Yeah. But did he tell you yet that indeed he left them there on purpose or by mistake, or that's not clear?
It's not exactly clear.
Yeah.
It was left there, I guess, on purpose through the divine direction.
Yeah. No, he'll say it's his brother made him do it and he didn't know it.
Hey, you never know. You know his brother, huh?
No, I don't know his brother, but I know that I know some of his references to his brother.
Yeah.
So, did your parents raise you a particular religion?
No.
Do you pray?
Every day.
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
You did well.
Yeah. Do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
I think evil corrupts beautiful people. So as a vehicle.
Yeah. The real hidden question, though, Joey, is how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the Mob and the Samurai. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. It's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I don't know if you would empower them. I think acknowledgement just brings recognition. It depends on the kind of, acknowledgement, right? That's what the word was?
Yep. It's the kind of acknowledgement. Yes.
You can acknowledge an enemy, but I don't believe that gives them power per se.
Yeah, there's a skateboard philosopher I'm sure Jim Klein has encountered. When I asked him that question, he said, look at this word, enemy. So the word enemy, words evoke more in their meaning. As soon as you name someone as your enemy, then you've empowered them. Or as you acknowledge is another word. That was good. And so Nassim Taleb says games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. Villains don't think they're bad. They want control. Heroes want freedom. Gregory Bates, in the Anthropologist, says if the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, I did something morally and socially wrong? So there's a lot of prompts there, but the basic question is, does punishment work?
Depends on the kind of punishment.
Yeah.
There can be punishment that reinforces a bad behavior, and then punishment that can open a new avenue to different ways of thought and then action.
Yeah. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin. He ran a movie theater. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, Faulkner said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
People get in their own way of living life from time to time, and we go to a play to live other lives, to experience other thoughts, emotions, actions, people's, and vicariously live through them, I guess.
Yeah. Good word, vicariously. So, Joey, walk us through your tipping points. What are you studying in high school and college? Is it acting? And when do you see something, plays or films or what, and go, oh, that's what I want to do. That's my calling. So
Well,
for acting, and then for writing, and then for being an ambassador, your 3 tipping points.
So actually in high school and college, I didn't study acting at all. I went to the University for International Relations and Italian. So those were my schools of thought there.
But clarify what international relations is. That poli-sci?
Poli-sci, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Italian. Though your ethnic background is what?
Spanish, Latino,
Yeah,
some Germanic, Irish. So
yeah. But
But
some drew you to Italy. Let's just go to that. Why did you pick Italy?
from kindergarten to 12th grade, I was in a bilingual Spanish-English education program.
Yeah.
And by the time I graduated that program, I was tired of Spanish, but still wanted to continue language education. So I switched to Italian. And then Italy. I mean, a lot of beautiful things there. So I was able to go study abroad in Italy, which was just fantastic. Very grateful for that experience.
But how'd you pick, going back to poli-sci or international relations, how'd you pick that to study? What was the tipping point? Like, oh, I want to do that.
To be a global citizen.
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to understand the world that I'm in to help influence it in a positive way.
But did you get that I want to help the world be a better place from the way your mom and dad raised you, or on your own?
Definitely from their influence.
Yeah.
My father was, conflict mediation on the school board in the town I lived in, and dealt with resolving these conflicts. So that was a wonderful role model to be around, and definitely showed me, de-resolution as opposed to escalation. Or
de-resolution.
I don't know if that's a double negative, but to resolve as opposed to escalate.
That's good. Okay, so now you're doing that poli-sci Italian. Then where's your tipping point? You be an actor.
Middle school, I was an actor. I did theater for a few years and just loved it and really enjoyed it. And then the tipping point was I was in Colorado. I had kind of reached a ceiling with where I was in my life. And I was grateful that the person I was dating at the time worked at a theater company called Family, PH, family, and they work with artists with disabilities, actors with disabilities. And I saw a couple of their performances and was just really impacted by the power of their performance and telling their stories up on stage. And that renewed the flame of acting. So I took some classes in Denver and then came out west. There was a tipping point. It was New Year's Eve. I was out with friends at a concert, and the message just kind of came to me that it was time to go and pursue this journey. So I prepared for 6 to 8 months and then came out west to Venice and landed on the beach.
And you got a good website. You got your reel, and you got gigs in movies and TV. And
I started studying immediately at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, and
yep.
within 8 months had put up around, over 25 scenes, became the stage manager of the beginner class, and then the lockdown happened, and that kind of put a pause on that. But that's when I met my wife, who was living in my same building, and we met in the laundry room. And
you don't need no stinking app to meet a wife. You met her like the old days in the laundry.
Very grateful.
Laundry room. That was like, you meet your wife, you meet your partner in the grocery store. No, I mean, it is. Would you say, just to divert for a second, would you see that's highly unusual in your peer group, that most of your peers who are couples have met through apps? And I'm not trying to say it's bad, but I'm just saying, is this a real fluke, or is there, what is the percentage of?
I'd say it's mixed. I'd say about half and half. A lot of my friends have met their partners like younger through college or just mutual friend groups, giant friend groups. So
yeah.
And then there are some that definitely met on the app, and it's been beautiful.
Yeah, no, that's good. So then you meet her, then where's your tipping point to become a writer?
So the tipping point to become a writer occurred back in my journey in South America. I was documenting the journey and then lost the documents. So I had to
You mean printed pages printed or typed?
I was journaling the journey in South America. So I was.
And you lost the physical journals?
Correct.
Wow. You didn't take pictures or anything?
I had lots of photos, yes.
No, but I mean, you didn't take pictures of your texts.
Oh, no, did not.
But you're that generation. Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you have a backup? Any reason?
I have never taken photos of my written words.
That's all right.
I consider that a photo on its own, just sitting there in the book.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say you should, but it's just, and we're going to get into this archive section, but I mean, it doesn't sound like, oh, woe is me, because wasn't the act of writing them enough in a way that they were manifested through your head into your pen and onto the paper, that you, in the long run, it wasn't that detrimental or saddening that you lost the journals?
It was heartbreaking in the moment.
Okay.
But then it spawned the need and the urge and the desire to retell the story. So I immediately started writing from the beginning, or writing about the beginning from the end. And if that hadn't happened, this book that is now out there would have not come to be.
It was the losing of the journals caused, more so in your retrospect, the retelling. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So let's go into that. The screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process when you're writing?
All of it. Intention leads the creation for me. Either the intention to get a message across, the intention to make someone laugh, to prove a particular point. I have and then it's ultimately the intention of the divine creator within me that I become the instrument.
Yeah, you got a good word there, because that's just what I'm going to ask you next. But first, I'll ask you, Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your reader when you're writing?
Often. I do think of the reader or the audience often, but they don't necessarily influence what I'm creating.
Yeah. So you said this word instrument. Very good, Joey, because McLuhan says everything we invent extends some humanness. So knife and fork extends our teeth. Shutter in a camera extends our eyelid. Maybe even like non-tangible philosophy or religion extends consciousness. What does the writing utensil extend for you? Whether it's a pen or a keyboard, what humanness does that extend?
The untapped, limitless, imaginative potential of the human spirit.
Yeah. What's another word for spirit?
Vibration.
Yeah. What's the function of poetry?
To feel.
Yeah, this guy, Litcrit, Leo Bersani, was studying Mallarmé, the symbolist. Said the very crises which threatens the writing of poetry sustains poetic composition. So there's a few words in there that are a little debatable, but just the essence of it. What's your take on that? The very crises which threatens the writing of poetry sustains poetic composition. It's almost like the very need to write your journey sustains your journey's composition, if you even put it in those terms.
Yeah, you could spend a long time unpacking that one, but it's, poetry would fall apart without itself. It's the very that's really challenging. You need the word. I think poetry can be so raw and so fluid and flexible that the way of expression can really just be so different for so many people. It's an opportunity to say things and express things in new and profound ways that structured writing doesn't allow. It can be chaotic yet simple. It can be jumbled but perfect.
Yeah.
It's a contradiction, I guess. Poetry can be a contradiction, is what he's saying, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Rex Roth said poetry is to subvert the bourgeois and woo your lover. But talking about that sort of function of art, here's another artist. Art is making your problems other people's problems.
Mm-hmm.
Any thought on that statement?
Yeah, you share what upsets you in the world or what bothers you, or the problem of having too much joy or laughter. I don't know if that's a problem, but you pawn it off on someone else. You share your perspective and you're going on this journey with me.
I love that word, pawn. That is good. Here's another one. It's poet Fanny Howe. The point of art is to show people that life is worth living by showing that it isn't.
Mm.
I'm always struggling what the heck that means, but any thoughts on that one?
I mean, again, it's the contradiction of the mystery of life. The the moments that aren't worth living do make life worth living.
Yeah.
Because they're just so profound, and that's the uniqueness of life. And again, we may not understand it in the moment, but that could be a pivotal moment for us in our growth development. We have no idea, for the evolution of our soul, for someone else. Yeah, that's another one to think on for quite some time. I'm sure there's many messages in there.
I like you brought the word mystery, because Auden the poet said the mystery of art is that we don't know it if it activates or pacifies us. So, we're artists. We want to think art is worthy and it's important. And then, all it is helping us avoid living in the moment.
I mean, yeah, you can escape into your art and live in the past or a previous story and ignore the moment, but then you're still living the moment, in that moment creating art. Again, the contradictions.
Yeah, that's what I learned from Frank Zappa, to embrace contradiction. He said, nothing is what I want.
Right.
It sounds like Jim Klein, because I always loved him telling me how he'd go, oh, by the way, I have to turn my phone off so we're not interrupted. Hold on. Sorry about that. That was a great example of embracing contradiction. But Jim would say, oh, yeah, all my friends, because, he would sort of brag to me how he knows all these movie stars, and his wife worked with Robert Altman and blah, blah, blah. And, the art world this and the art world that. And, he's living on his bicycle dumpster diving. And so we had a lot in common in talking about this. And he'd go, yeah, all my friends go, oh, did you hear about Jim Klein? He fucking nutty Hare Krishna kid, living on the streets now. And he was so proud to say that his, sane, normal people, celebrity world was like chalking him off as another kook street person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm studying that deeply. There's another, you might check it out, because it's called The Coincidence of Opposites.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's basically dialectic. It's back to Mallarmé, the symbolist poet, who said, to define is to kill, to suggest is to create.
Yeah.
And it's binary, duality, polarity. It
reminded me of the wave versus the particle.
Yep, that's good. That's another Zappa thing. He didn't invent this, but have you ever heard of the wavicle?
That's the first I've heard that word.
Actually. Yeah, it's the combo burrito supreme. Okay. Wave and particle combined, the wavicle. Yeah. So it's really fun, Joey. I'm glad you get this. So McLuhan said there's no such thing as a good or a bad movie. It's a good or a bad viewing experience. And I know you've acted in movies and TV, but your love came first for acting more so through theater, it sounds.
Yes.
So, just apply that to a play. There's no such thing as a good or a bad play. It's a good or a bad attending the play's performance.
I think, there's a lot you can take away from it. It's a very subjective experience and personal experience. And the play is the play. It's, our lens on it. There's always, going to be good experiences, bad experiences, but what does that really mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I talked to Michael Apted, the filmmaker, 40 years ago. I said, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? So this is like when you're 5 years old, MTV is making a big impact to the point where Marty Scorsese says, I cut my films faster because of MTV.
Well, yeah.
Most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922, but it really flourished in the 80s to the point where Michael Apted said, well, because we've learned to take in information faster. So I asked this question with a bias. Can we literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
I think you're able to take in information faster. Is that beneficial? Will it benefit you in the long run, or will you really integrate it? That I'm not sure. You can take it in faster. Sure. You can give me a bunch of information. Is it going to stick? I don't know. Am I going to remember it? Possibly not.
Yeah. It's good. You're answering a question with a question. You win. That's what this series is all about, inventing new questions and metaphors. But really,
yeah, go on. I'm probably wrong anyway, so it doesn't.
No, you're just trying to plug this cheesy title. So this is really the hidden question here, Joey, is it literally possible for humans to multitask?
Yes. Depends on the nature of the tasks, I guess, you know. Is it mental thinking tasks, consciousness tasks, humans tasks? You know, the body is doing many things simultaneously. Am I in control of that to a degree? My brain is leading it, so I am human, so I am multitasking there. Can my conscious mind multitask? I'd say I've been able to do several things at once. Yes. But sometimes, you know, the quality of the task diminishes with the more tasks you put on, or it just becomes stress.
Yeah.
Overthinking.
It's good. Now, not that good you have stress, but it's good that you can articulate that. It becomes stress.
Yeah, I think it just becomes stress. And that's, I think, one of the goals in life is to just minimize, you know, all the thoughts and tasks you think. And I'm working on that, you know, every day myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of my mom, or like, what's the difference when I asked you, what do you worry about when you go to bed at night? I didn't follow it up with what's the difference between worry and concern.
Right.
So when my mom died, everybody thought she worried too much. So I got in front of everybody at the wake service and I says, well, a lot of people in this room worried that Dolores worried too much. So it's like, what really is the difference? And I'm asking you, what's the difference between worry and concern? Is there really a difference, or is there?
I think there's an energetic elevation with worry. I think it weighs on you more. There's a stress about what you cannot do in a situation, where concern is more of an observational, you know, looking at, you know, concerned is still a step removed. I think worry has more emotional power invested in it.
Yeah. But that's what I usually get, and I appreciate that, but it is a fine line.
Very fine line. And
yeah, and you know,
worry with concern. They could say they're concerned when really they're worried. It depends on the individual definition of that.
Yeah. And then when you go into etymology and where words come from, it's all made up. People think that it's for real. And my favorite is, since I go to etymology online 100 times a day, I like it when it says of unknown origin.
Yeah.
It's like every word is of unknown origin. It's just somebody made this up to make it sound like there's a good background to this word to make it a legitimate word. And there are. But it's a cliche I love to repeat that's turned into an archetype. Is say, if you gossip and complain, you live longer. So see, the word you used was stress. If you have stress and you deal with it, you might live longer. You might have a fuller life. But you know, if you gossip, oh, gossip's not good. Oh, if you complain, oh, you're complaining. You know, the old people who'd sit in the town square and all they do is gossip and complain. They're the ones who lived longer.
That was their form of entertainment.
Well, it's also a form of getting it out of your system. So it doesn't, harm you. Like people would say, well, stress harms you. Well, who was that? I think it was Emma Stone said, man, stress is what I thrive on.
Right. Depends
You
on the
know,
person.
I thrive on that anxiety and stress to, it's my lifeblood in a way. So
Can energize some people.
energize is a good word. Yeah. How about your guess or your hunch? What was the motive of the cave artist?
That's a good one. To paint.
Yeah. It's good. I don't get that very often. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
That's a tough one. Conviction or compromise? I think ultimately, it's a tough one. I'll lean compromise right now.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answers, but that one you got right, Joey.
Well, I compromise, with my wife every day and with people around me, with my friends, with my family, with myself. I have to compromise with myself.
Yeah. But it is funny because 80% of people say conviction.
Really?
And I'm like, well, yeah, because they think I've got to be convicted, be true. It's like, dude, everybody's born convicted. You're already convicted. You're convicted the minute you're born, I think. And, it's hard to compromise,
It is.
You've accomplished a lot. How do you rate these three elements? Luck, skill, and ambition. What played the biggest role, second and third?
Luck, skill, and ambition. I think ambition probably first, then luck, then skill.
Way to go, dude. You nailed it. Because the question used to be, is ambition based more on fear or joy? So let's ask you that first.
I think that depends on the person.
Yeah. But in general, your observations of humans' ambition motive, is it based usually more on fear or more on joy? Not for you, but for people in general.
For people, I think joy. People go towards what they want.
Yeah. That's heavy because the 80% of people would always go fear. Now, I
can understand that.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you're an optimist, I would say. Would you say are you more an optimist than a pessimist?
Totally optimist, yes.
Yeah. So then a couple of years ago, I read William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist, said, in Hollywood, skill and luck have nothing to do with it. It's all ambition. So you picked the right profession, dude. I mean, that is if you stick with your acting career.
That is the path.
Yeah. Is loyalty based on reason?
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You can be unreasonably loyal.
Yeah. T.S. Eliot said poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
I guess it's in English.
More metaphorically, what form is your inner consciousness in?
What form is my inner consciousness in? I guess it's seeking formlessness.
Oh, that's good. Formlessness. That is a good answer. Okay, so two of my film heroes, their mantra is ignore yourself. There's no self-expression. Cecil Taylor, the jazz pianist, says, I'm just a vehicle, and this stuff just comes through me. Is art making more self-expression or more your vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
Is it more self-expression or
more a vehicle for culture, technologies, environments?
I think it's For me, it's self-expression. And then I think that self-expression creates the vehicles.
Yeah. Can art making be egoless?
It can be. It can be, but I don't think it's happened yet.
That's good. It hasn't happened yet. It's funny because most people, 80% again, would say, no, it can't be egoless. And then this woman a couple years ago goes, great art is egoless. And I went, oh, well, that's interesting, because you think of this universality that if art touches a lot of people, why is it touching a lot of people? Because there's it's a funny question, because it's how people decipher what the word ego means.
Right.
Because it's Freudian, or they think you mean egotistical. So then about a year ago, another woman said to me, can art be egoless? She goes, it has to be.
Mm.
I was like blown away to think, oh, it has to be egoless. Like, good luck, But yeah, the follow-up is, was Freud right?
So was Freud right about art having to be egoless?
No. It's just another question to throw in. It doesn't have to be related to ego, but yeah. Because usually when I ask, was Freud right? They go, about what?
Exactly.
Because it is one of these things we're massively brainwashed, that Freud actually contributed something to describing how we work.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't challenge. They go, well, they don't go, he was a little wrong or he was completely wrong. It's just like, it's so worked into our culture,
Yeah, it would take a lot of thought power to go into the depths of Freud to really understand where he may have been right or wrong.
Yeah, it's endless. But I mean, just if I said to you, was Freud right? Put it into the context you want. How would you process that?
Oh, is Freud right? Yes and no.
And there you go. Here's a good example. This is Harold Bloom. This guy's Lit Crit. He wrote a book you should check out sometime called Anxiety of Influence.
Oh, okay.
They go, Harold, do you believe in God? And he says, my attitude towards Yahweh is that I don't like him and I don't trust him and I wish he'd go away. But I know he won't, because he's built into our language. So that's sort of like Freud. He's built into our language. He ain't going to go away. You can agree or disagree with him, but is so built into, just like the word God.
Right.
And then he says, as Nietzsche said, he's part of the way we think. As soon as you use a verb involving being, you're in trouble. Lot to think about there. Is perception reality?
Yes. And no.
There you go.
We are limited on our perceptions.
Yeah.
We can only perceive so much. So that's a part of reality.
Yeah, that's my favorite is Lily Tomlin. Reality is just a collective hunch. That's that. We were talking about that this morning. That's what words are.
Yeah.
They're just a collective hunch. McLuhan probed Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce, saying, artists dream awake. And everybody has this ability to create these scenarios in the middle of the night and dream. But artists, not to sound elitist, can also dream awake. Have dreams played a role in your creative process?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You want to recall or describe a dream that you've returned to or you can remember? Just a few details of it?
I mean, one, I had two dreams about building a bar or a restaurant. And then I went out and built that bar and restaurant. I went and worked at a restaurant. I hired a restaurant consultant and a design team and created the brand and the identity of that bar and restaurant. So the dream inspired that.
That is good. Why is it so difficult for humans to consider the possibility that life may be pointless?
Because then the experience of life would be pointless.
Yeah. Lewis Carroll says, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
Yes, but then again, I don't know if they're impossible yet.
Yeah. You're still working that out, huh?
Yeah.
That's like Sun Ra, the great jazz shaman. He said, the impossible attracts me because everything possible has been done and the world didn't change.
Hmm.
So, Joey, tell me one major element of your creativeness that stayed the same and one major element that's changed in the years you've been doing this.
I think my sense of humor has just been right there. I think that's within me. Just the type of funny that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And something that's changed, I think, in my creative process, you said?
Yeah, or in your creative process, however you want to put it.
I think it's the delivery of the messages and the ability to wrap a message in several layers and deliver it with multiple meanings.
Yeah, it's good. Multiplicity. So let's stay on humor for a second. What's the function of laughter?
The function of laughter. To experience joy.
Yeah, Gurdjieff said laughter is a reconciliation of yes and no. So again, it's that duplicity or duality. McLuhan loved to quote Steve Allen. He said, behind every joke, there's a grievance. Now, I don't know if we can say every, but any thoughts on that? Behind jokes, there's a grievance.
Well, yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, you can laugh when you are so upset because the situation just is beyond you. So I guess, to experience joy, there's multiple types of laughter as well.
Yeah.
And I can see the contradiction in the laughter. You laugh at something that's sad. You can laugh at something that's terrible. But you can also laugh at something that's divinely beautiful. So.
Yeah, because there was a rise in this, what's called satire news now. It was called fake news, and then they switched the words to satire news. And so I'm curious. I asked my friend who wrote Comedy with Robin Williams, he says, can satire be destructive? And he says, that's the job of satire. But if me or you do a cartoon in a certain country and they kill us, some people think dying is destructive. So Swift compared satire to a mirror in which you could see every face but your own. So what's the function of satire?
To dismantle.
Yeah.
And to call out in a way. To see from a new lens.
Yeah. It's good. Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength, rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
I think it was fear of honest, truthful expression, which through workshops and a lot of growth, now I cherish the truth.
Yeah.
It'll set you free.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect lead in. So here's my collection of truth maxims, or people have made statements about truth.
Mm.
First one is Louis Buñuel. I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it.
Well said.
Yeah. Now, just like 99% of people go, oh, I agree with that. One guy goes, no, that's bullshit. Because if I'm going to seek something, it's because I want to find it. So I morphed it into the question. If the journey is more important than the destination, why do we have to name or seek a destination?
To give us a goal or an object to move towards.
But then there was the flaneurs in Paris in the 20s. They changed the world forever. And they just sat at a coffee house and did nothing in psychogeography. And, then they did what James Joyce said, had an epiphany in everydayness, But here's Shelby Foote. A fact is not a truth until you love it. What's your take on that one?
I think, facts are facts, but when you embrace it as your fact, it becomes your truth.
Yeah.
So it's your investment in the fact.
Yeah. It's good. This is Eartha Kitt. Truth is a theory that is constantly being disproved.
Mm.
Only lies, it seems, go on forever. Now, there's a lot to that because she goes, only lies, it seems, goes on forever. But any thoughts on this? Truth is a theory that is constantly being disproved. Only lies, it seems, go on forever.
A lie in itself is the truth of the lie. So it exists in concrete form, while the actual truth is amorphous and continues to create itself anew, I guess.
Yeah.
It can change depending on our understanding and our awareness of it.
Yeah. Very good, Joey. This is Marcel Proust. On what occasion do you lie?
On what occasion do I lie? In fear, I guess.
Wow.
I've very much enjoyed his series of In Search of Lost Time. 3 books in with Proust.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's good. It's funny. In fear, that's very honest, dude. That's heavy because you know what most people say, on what occasion do you lie? To protect the other person's feelings. And this one woman,
that's accurate. In fear of,
but you said fear. They're like to protect. It's sort of like, anyways, it seems your answer got deeper into the root, And so, this woman who dresses as stars, you go, on what occasion do you lie? She goes, that's called manners. And Tom Waits nailed it. He says, on what occasion do you lie? He goes, I didn't know I needed an occasion.
And again, I love some of these personalities that just, give us such a beautiful insight into these things.
Yeah. But it is, truth is like what this is Schopenhauer. I love all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it's ridiculed. Then it's violently opposed. Then thirdly, it was accepted as being self-evident. Oh, I knew that all along,
Yeah.
Or the great film producer, actor, handsome movie star, Robert Evans. there's three sides to every story: my side, your side, and the truth. And no one is lying. Memories shared serve each other one differently. So anyways, a good little rabbit hole discussion into truth. Fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when
it teaches you something.
Yeah. What's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
Physical aside, the most significant difference between men and women. That's a challenging one. There's many differences, many similarities. I think it's just a viewpoint on the world, how they see the world, how each sees the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious, where did your mom learn what she taught you? What did she have to go through to like help you? Well, actually, usually what I ask after that is what caused matriarchy, but the matristic kind of viewpoint. I'm curious. Your book, is about the Earth Mother, and so it was your time, this intense time you spent with your mom.
And it was intense suffering.
Yeah, and it was intense suffering. But what was where did she get her knowledge of that? Is there some specific sort of person, event, training, life experience,
Probably, just life experience throughout, the wins and losses throughout her life taught her what she knew and passed on to me.
Yeah. Well, there's a saying, Joey, that goes, you create what you resist. Bob Goldthwait, the comedian, morphed it into you are what you hate. James Joyce said, it's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve. And Louis Buñuel nailed it. He said, thank God I'm an atheist. So basically, I'm just wondering your thoughts on this line. You create what you resist. Not so much you, Joey, but one creates what one resists. Any thoughts on that line?
I believe it's true, because in the act of resisting it, you are just creating it within yourself. So it becomes as you resist.
Yeah. Can you forget to die?
Yeah.
That's good. How do you find peace of mind?
The breath.
Yeah. That was good. So 5 Alan Watts questions off the top of your head in just a couple words. 1, who started it all?
Spirit.
Are we going to make it?
Yes.
Where do we put it?
In our heart.
Who's cleaning it up?
We are.
Is it serious?
Doesn't have to be.
It's good. But again, back to your book, travel guide. It doesn't have to be. It's almost like I'm going to be a guide with these printed words, these thoughts on this page. Where did you get that? It doesn't have to be serious. Like Zappa has a great one. He says, I'm very serious about being not serious.
Yeah.
You know, and so where did you get that? The way your parents raised you, or on your own? Or
I think a combination, but also just from the spiritual lessons of many of the guides, the gurus of all religions. It, we perceive it as serious at this level, but beneath this level, it's not as serious as we make it out to be.
yeah. Yeah, Farsight Theater has a great line. Everything you know is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, there's also that great little twist. Guy goes to his guru and he says, what's the best question I can ask you?
Uh-huh.
And the guru says, the one you just asked me.
That's nice.
But
Jerry, I'm sorry, I'll have to wrap up here in a little bit. The baby is crying, our new little baby girl. But
okay.
I'd love to, a couple more questions if possible. I want to honor this. This has just been so much fun.
Okay. Well, just to follow that, what question remains unresolved for you?
What question remains unresolved for me? There's so many questions yet that I have to ask. Will I make it?
It's good. Give me a number. How many questions can I ask you? One more or three more? Or...
Let's do a nice 3.
3. Beautiful. If you were walking down the street and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
You're doing great. Have fun.
Thornton Wilder said, art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for 70 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
Sharing, learning.
Yeah. What gives you the most optimism?
The power of love.
I was going to say a baby crying.
Yeah.
the study this one, Joey. Samuel Beckett did a play. It's 30 seconds long.
Uh-huh.
It's a baby takes his breath and then cries. And on the stage, all you see is a pile of garbage. So off screen, you hear a baby go, and then cry. It's like, to me, that's the ultimate play. Being a theater guy is like, gee, honey, we can go to dinner now. The play was only 30 seconds. Thanks a lot, Joey. I appreciate your time and energy, and it's really been enlightening for me. And even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever.
Thank you very much, Jerry. A pleasure.
All right.
Cheers.